So I was scrolling through YouTube randomly and ended up watching a few videos where all these challenges like making a game in 3 days or making GTA 5 in 24 hours. I found them quite interesting and thought, hey, maybe I could do that. I then tried making my own RPG and made a house and some grass and this guy as well. But then realised that this shit is hard and I'm just bad at everything I try. This gave me the idea that maybe I should try taking some baby steps and first try remaking some games to get some practice. And what better than Pokemon? I mean, everyone loves Pokemon. And what better for me than to remake the first Pokemon game I ever played, Emerald? Anyways, let's get started. Now first things first, we need a player model. However, I don't know how to 3D model properly and this is the best I could do, so far at least. Don't worry, this model is only temporary. That not being hard enough as it already was, we now needed some animations because this isn't exactly very riveting for a 3D game and it didn't work out straight away to begin with, but we eventually got there. We also needed some movement script, but I just robbed the script from the failure that I made earlier, which I also nabbed from a Brackies video. Next we needed to build the first town and have some room to play around with, and so I hopped on Blender again and built a few houses, flowers, trees, signs, this chimney and so on. Now we have something that sort of resembles the original game, I think. Since I was already making a load of things on Blender anyway and become quite a pro at it, if I don't say so myself, I went and made some props for the insides of the houses too so that I can add more depth to the game. Too many to list right now, but here they are on screen. And with a bit of code, we now had indoors available too. We now need the main elements of the game, the Pokemon, and again we need to 3D model. Like modeling shit like tables and TVs and stuff was fine because they only had like 3 faces in its entirety, but now we need to level up and now we have like 100 faces. Not only do we have faces, but we also have feathers. Anyways, Trico looks special, Mudkip looks a bit hungry, but to be honest, Torchic's kinda sick, like I'm proud of that. We also implemented some base stats for these lots, so now they had more things differentiating them than just their looks. Now we need to work on the battle system. Thank God for this man. His video got me to this point, but now I need to actually use my own brain and use my limited knowledge on coding and managed to get it up to this point. With some coding here and with some coding there and extracting information from the Pokemon encountered, we had automatically generated text depending on the encounter, and yeah, we can now battle. Also, I added wild Pokemon to the game with models I found online because I feel like I've had enough practice making Pokemon and I can't really be asked to do it again. You can encounter them in the tall grass where they run some weird movements, and if they run into you then it starts this fighting sequence. Since there are more Pokemon added to the game now, I thought it'd be right to be able to catch them, so now you can hold more than one Pokemon in your party. Moves. Moves are a big part of the game because, let's be real, it'd be kinda shit if all these I could do was just use tackle. And now I knew what to work on next, and started using something called a scriptable object which details the moves, which includes stuff like power, type, PP, accuracy, and other details that I needed. I also made a scriptable object for the moves each Pokemon can learn and at what levels they can learn them at. And with some adjustments made to code, the game checks after every battle if you can level up using this equation I found online. And for when you level up, you can learn new moves if you reach the right level. Anyway, so far the game was actually turning out alright. With a lot of the game's mechanics being recreated, we needed to create some animations for the screen when you start interacting with the game. It's kinda dry if you encounter a wild Pokemon and it just instantly pops up to the screen. So we added some simple things to the game, and when you encounter the wild now, you have this happen to your screen. It's the little things that makes the game look better. I'm also not much of a fan of the colours and lighting of the game so far, so after playing with a few of the settings, this is how it looks now, and I prefer it at least. A little less glary, if that makes sense. I also started to make the next 2 towns and the routes in between, as you may have noticed previously. Now you know how I said that this mess was only temporary? Well, now with quite a few 3D models under my belt, I had a second try at this, And you know what? Nah, really though, this isn't actually that bad in my opinion. Better than this though, at least. Faces. Hey, it's kinda lonely around here. All the mechanics had been implemented in the game so far, but there were no characters, and so now we get started on creating the story. And by story, I mean up until the first gym, because who has time to recreate the whole game? So we first got started on the rival, May. Yeah, no, I'm not going through all of that all over again. Thank you, random talking bush. You're a real G. I hooked her up with a better type Pokemon compared to what you picked and gave her dialogues, and now your first main battle has been added. Speaking of picking your starter, you can also pick your starter. It's quite simple actually. You trigger an invisible box and then stumble upon a scene where the professor is being violated by a Zigzagoon and tells you to help him by looking into his bag. You switch to the screen and pick your starter. In the main game, your mom talks to you at the start, which begins your adventure, and here I tried my best to recreate that. It's not the same, but we can make it work. Also ignore the fact that the mom is a taller May. The first gym is located in Rossborough City, which is located up here. You spawn here. That's quite a distance. There's also a lot in this town, isn't there? And so therefore, for my version of the game, the first gym is now located here. Here's how it looks. Here's the gym leader. You beat him and you earn your first badge. And at that point you practically beat the game. I guess you can go fight more wild Pokemon if you want, but that's about it really. That's all I have to show for what I've been working on the past few weeks, and I'd say it turned out pretty well for my first game, and I've definitely learned a lot during it, so I'd say it's a success. That's all I have to show for this video, so if you liked, then like and subscribe, because I'm definitely going to be making more. And started using something called a scriptable object, which details. And started using something called a scriptable and started using something called a scriptable. And started using something